So I will begin the demonstration. Downloaded the standard SteamVR plugin from the Unity Asset Store. And I've created my own project name here. There's a lot going on in the project. So let's just start with what I can do. So I'm going to select the cube tiling control. You can see it has some parameters. In this case, size, rotation, some details. And I'll hit Control T. That's going to create the cube tiling control specified by those parameters. Alright, so what's it do? So now I'm going to move to a different view, just for the screen. I hit play. At this point, I'm using the HTC Vive. As soon as everything loads up. Alright. So my guess is you can predict how this is working. There's some unfortunate bugs in the color transition. I'd like a better solution, but for a first cut, I think it demonstrates what's going on. Alright, so I'm going to take off the headset. Now I'm going to attempt to kind of show what I can do, what I've tried, what I've found successful. This is all just 2 weeks of trying to do interesting things to understand how Unity works. I don't know how many of these are going to survive, or what patterns will last, but that was kind of cool, just to show you kind of how more, I'll add to it just to show. Delete it. Click it again. So it's the looking for the control that's selected, keyboard shortcut. And now I have a cube, and when I hit play, I forgot to set it to the full screen view. And it's a cube. I can't actually get around it, but it is a cube. Anyway. So what's going on? This is a scriptable object. It's an instance of scriptable object. So in my scripts, my scriptable objects have been going into what I just call my editor scripts. I have 4 right now. You can actually see all these instances of them. I have 4 types, I should say. Cube tiling, generic scripts, alert, and the raycast control. Actually, you did see all 4 of those being used, though the generic script control I haven't shown off. It's an editor time. So I'll show you what I did. Cube tiling control. So right here, Control T. So when I hit Control T on the keyboard, it called this menu item. I could have also used the menu. In fact, I'll show that to you. Control T, tiling manager, create cube tile. But instead, I selected the instance of the scriptable object and I hit Control T. It's easier. It's pretty fast. So what did it do? Well, here you can see selection active object is a cube tiling control. If I had selected something that wouldn't work, hit Control T, it would bring up an open file like dialog. And from there, I could then select the cube tiling control. If there's nothing there, it just returns. I should probably log an error, whatever. Yeah. Next up, we got a path to a prefab. Basically, that big cube I'm showing you, I'm saving in a prefab. Once again, I will just continue to demonstrate. So here, Control T makes the cube. We look at the prefabs, and we can see in here there's a big prefab, and inside of it are all the tiny cubes. And yes, there are 4x4x4. And just to show you that I'm doing it on the fly, I'll delete it. Delete it. Once again, Control T. And once again, here's the thing. So yeah, I'm creating prefabs. I'm creating in-game scene things. If I just wanted the prefab, I could get rid of including scene, and then once the script gets at the bottom, you know, if not including the scene, destroy these objects. So you get an idea of what this Control T is doing first, right? Prefabs, creating prefabs, empty prefabs. And when we have an empty prefab, once we have a bunch of game objects, when we're done, we do this replace. So I create an origin. Where do I get into that? It's basically all string. Yeah, it does require paths and strings. So there's this thing called resources. And this was a bit tricky to figure out, and maybe this will help you at some point. But you can do this resource.load, but it is expecting it in a folder called resources. I thought it was just a relative path from assets, but resources.load is looking there. So we go back here, and we can see we have this array of tiles, I call them. And it's just this one and this one, color alert cube 0 and color alert 1, and they point to these resources. So we're going to have a tiling. You could kind of see that I was using 2 different cube types there. Back to the tiling control. So we're going to load the tile. We just load the first one. We know it's a game object, and we're going to grab its. What does solid do? It's a loop. It goes to plane. What does plane? It's the wrong plane, isn't it? It's probably closer to plane. Check that. Anyway, Plane goes to row. These I really could have just kept these in all, but whatever. That wasn't anything. I'd actually wasted a good hour doing it stupidly. So this is good enough. Row. Here we go. I just flip on the bits for X, Y, and Z, and just to get an odd or even. There's probably a better way to do this, but that's how I get the alternating effect. Instantiate. And of course, which one for which tile. In theory, I could bust this out, mod whatever, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that would just be a different function. I don't know. That's the Control T. All right. So, oh yeah, I guess I didn't show that it actually also. You're also getting the public here, these public variables, since it all inherits from SciptableObject. All these public variables are what you're getting. And you can change these at runtime, and you can reference these in your other objects. So that's that. So let's talk about the ray casting. It's just raycast scripts. I have this debug one, I could turn this on. I don't necessarily, I guess I could. How hard would that be? On the spot. I may or may not turn on the debug one. Depends if I can just see it. Pattern's a little different here. I would say that last control I was showing you was more of a Unity editor. It's meant to be done at build time. This is going to be done at runtime. So I have this little data object. It's my raycast hit, and then some time stuff. And honestly, there's probably a refactor here, but it was easy. So we have our raycaster control. That's just the data we use here: ranges, layers, frequencies. If it's on, if it's raycast all, whatever, linger, margins. So the boundary of our raycast. Once again, that's a scriptable object, so I only have one, and it fires every 1/8 of a second. Linger is 3.5 seconds. Margin is sort of, who knows what those do. Range is 25 meters. Margin's probably error between linger or something. I don't know. Hi, Oscar. And then layers is which layers is going to interact with. If I have these things like this, I can demonstrate this. Yes. So if I take off stillness reactive, this might be interesting. I'll keep one on, keep one off. Delete the thing. Grab the configuration. Control T. Thanks for the chat, Super Jari. Let's see. It didn't work. Well, maybe I don't have layers working. Thought I did. Raycast control, stillness reactive. We have our newest objects. It's reactive. Okay. I guess I didn't turn them off. Okay. Next time. I'm still a pretty big noob as far as Unity editor is concerned. As witnessed by that mistake. I'll check this time before I do everything. So it's a default layer. Alright, of course I inactivated both of them. But you can see they're inactive. Hey, that's... I was going to go for something a little cuter. I kind of want to see it myself. But they're on the default layer, and they're not working. So this is what we're going for this time. But I'll do the other ones. So, what was that? This was my first scriptable object. It's in a separate class. If I were to do it again, I'd probably just put it in this class. Because they just end up being keyboard commands or menu items. So you never really need to know where the file is. I mean, if you keep it with what uses it, it makes a lot of sense. It's just that extra layer of saving. I don't know if it's going to be better. Well, anyway. Control. That's what it's doing. What's this class do? On enable, first of all, it's a mono behavior, and then on enable, it starts the start coroutine of scan. It's an enumerator, which means it has a yield return, which means it can just arbitrarily wait. It waits for the frequency, which, if we remember, is 1/8 of a second. At least that's the one I have to set up for. While it's on, so in theory, I could turn it off through the control, though. Yeah, whatever. Raycast. New raycast hit, ray. New ray, transform position, transform from vector 3 forward. You know, if it's not raycast all, just do a single raycast out, get back your raycast hit and pass it to the process. If it's raycast all, then you have to do for each all the physics raycast all and pass it to the process. Process takes it. So hits come in. It creates a new scan, makes the scan lock, because we have a data structure here. And I was just being paranoid. Whatever. It's protected. I mean, yes, and right there. I mean, maybe I should have made it private. I don't know. I haven't decided. But, it's this scan entries to remove, right? It's bookkeeping. Scan. It's a game object with a scan. It's not fun stuff. Well, it's fun, but it's not horrible, right? From line 40, ignore the log. Line 51 to 16 lines. Maybe another. Right. Alright, so what's it doing? It's trying to find if what it's hit is in the dictionary. If it is, cool. If it's not, well, then we have a new scan. So if it is, well, then we gotta look at it. And we want to say, hey, is the continuity longer than this? Then we're lingering. when we went in, when we first saw it for the first time, we said, oh, we're entering it. Now update. Oh, update's the frame update. So this is happening on the code team. We're scanning and we're saying, you know, we're lingering. So we're hitting scans and we're lingering. On the update, every once in a while, we are seeing if we should remove something. So we're looking at the time and we're looking at our margin. Hey, margin, there it is. And we're saying, hey, should we remove it? And this is, I don't know, this might be the most efficient. I don't know. But this is one way of going through each of the scans in there. And we call these functions on linger exit, on scan exit. And we remove them. So I said 4 functions there, and they're virtual functions. So these are the hooks. These are the hooks. I could just have these just do stuff. But I decided to goof around with code generation. I don't know. I did it, so whatever. We'll look at it. So you can see how the scan raycaster pulls every 1/8 of a second, and it gets these hits. And when it gets a hits, it puts things in the dictionary and it throws events. Who's consuming these events? Well, we inherit from the scan raycaster. It's not AlphaScan, this is a dumb name, but whatever. So abstract scan raycaster, and it has extra generic variables. It's actually chopped off a bit. This is generic. This is actually code generated code. I'm going to show that class last. In some ways, it's the most worthless class. Or it's the most. Anyway. But the nice thing about CodeGen is you get lots of code for free. Anyway, so on scan enter, it just does enable of type A, enable of type A, and I can stack this up as high as I want. The pattern being we just add 2 more generics. Then when we actually fill out, we just fill out. In this case, it's loop render control. So what's it doing? Well, oh, don't look at that one. That was just a test. It's not. It's calling enable. So go to definition, and that was that last function here in scan raycaster. Enable type Z. You know, it's doing scan, last hit, transform, game object, get component of type Z because we're guaranteed it's a model behavior. So scan multiple, lerp render control around array, get component. If the behavior is not null, we enable the value. We set the value to the value. What's the value? Well, it's true here. It's false here. On scan enter, on scan exit. These are for on lingers, but it was messing up the color demo, so I just tore them out. In fact, I think if I undo this, you can see. There they are. Yeah. Oops. Undo. Run away. But they were messing up the demo, just turning things on and on again, generally making it harder to see. So I just very easily deleted them. That's that. You're not really seeing like a tower, it's just one layer, and that brings us to the code. So we've seen the raycaster. I guess we can do the lerp control. Because what's being enabled, it's a lerp render control around array, and this is a model behavior that on the way gets the renderer, looks for some information. Need to set up colors array in a spectre. it starts a coroutine, and that's where I'm getting that color transition, and it's wrong. I'm sure there's mistakes, but I can very much say we can do on disable, and that's how it stops. So we'll go back to the abstract one, and we're enabling these and disabling these. So when I'm running the demo, you can see, do this again, Control T, L cube. And of course, I taken off one of the cubes is on the default layer. So what's happening is the color's only changing while I'm looking at them. When I do on exit, that's calling the disable to the alert color around array. And then of course look at these colors. It's kind of cool. They're just color arrays, duration, smoothness. That's for trying to get the animation look good. It has serious mistakes, like anything with these things around the borders. It breaks. It'll just flash in one frame. So I'm sure there's better ones out there, but it works for demonstration purposes. So finally, there's this generic skip control, and it generates code. Yeah, so I'll delete active scan. So it's using that same trick. I don't remember the keyboard command for this one because I don't use it that often. So I'll go to the manager. Let's consider I'll do it from here. So it's already loaded it. Now it's asking us to create the active scan scripts. Here. And this is where you see some of that, this is very much kind of hackery. I mean, this is about as hackery as hackery gets. Once I show the code. It's not really, you don't see it. That's fine. So I'm going to tell you what it did. I'm going to show you first and explore it. Yes, it does exist. Scripts. Active scan. Yeah, it's there. And first, oh, Unity there. Ooh, see? Now Unity sees it. So yeah, I'm obviously I could do that better. But this is the sort of stuff where I only expect to do it for really creative things. And then I expect to be editing. So what did I create? First, we can look at the active scan. And this is kind of like a base for the scan raycaster. You can see it has serializable control. Really, this should be I think it should be a scriptable object. Whatever. I can change that pretty easily. it has these 6 methods. These are on scan enter, on scan exit, on linger enter, some on speed up, on speed down. These are just some examples of things I might add to my raycast control. And then it has this very generic scan last transfer GameObject get component of type Z. If it's not, enable it to the value. So that's the whole thing hinges on that sort of. I'm going to be enabling and disabling components to create effects. So I invested 2 days in the code gen. More like, it was like 1 day because I started to do the tower. I saw the generic things. And there was another day to say, well, I'm going to do the code gen too. But I knew when I was doing the generics that I'd have to do the code gen because I don't even know if it's good, honestly. But I'm going to show it to you because it's been done and it works. So hey, it must be interesting. So yeah, active scan, very similar to scan raycaster. This is the abstract class, and there's actually quite a few abstract classes. So start at the bottom. Active scan, generics, on scan enter, on scan exit. Active scan 2, active scan 1, on scan enter, on scan exit, on linger. The A's, go to the A's. Active scan 3, on scan enter, on scan exit, on linger enter, on linger exit. A new B, the A's, the last A's, the last B. Then I'll go here. And we build this tower all the way to the sky. And hopefully you never really look at this class because I give you this final class. Which is the scan multiple. And this kind of gives you an idea of what an implementation of active scan 4 would be. And it tries to tell you that, okay, this would hit enable true on the first in line on scan enter. This is second in line on scan enter. Third in line on scan enter. Fourth in line on scan enter. First in line on scan enter. Second. These are all the same behaviors. And I don't actually have a lot of different things to enable. I only have that color alert, and I could do shrink. I could do some other ones, but I wanted to get this out. Just get this out. So this particular example is just absurdly complicated. This is what the code gen did, while the actual alpha scan, which I'm using, is only using 2, and even these could be deleted safely. I could delete those lines. I could delete those. I'm not going to because I might want them back. But the active scan, the sort of default idea of a class I give you. This is what came first was actually the scan raycaster. I built the raycaster and had these events anyway, and I was like, well, how can I hook into them? And so I make them virtual, and then I create these inheritance towers. And I can do it as deep and as high as I like, and I can do it for any types I want, as long as they have enable. Now, is it going to pan out? I don't know. Like I said, 2 days. So the final look is at a generic script control, a key, create some code. It's the selection. Can't find it. It's going to load it. Next step opens to create the scripts. That's going to create a script path. There's some safeties on them. I have that on most of them, any of the code gen stuff. Anyway, that's all just, paths and stuff. Pretty boring. Once we have the folder, we're going to start messing around with files. So yeah, writing files, generating scripts. It's ugly stuff. Writer.write, templates, strings.formats, variables, ints. It's a hack job. I mean, it works. I mean, dot single not working. Yeah, I have trouble with system.link in Unity. So I have to for each. Yeah, look at all these templates. Like this ugly stuff. But it works. And what does it do? I think the last thing I'll show you this again. On scan enter, on scan exit, on linger enter, on linger exit, on speed up, on speed down. I have to give it a generic label. I have to tell it what the label is. Do I want to enable it? Do I want to disable it? Capacity. That's how deep it is. So the capacity for the little guy is 1. The weird, super complicated one that I'm not even using. 4, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1. That was just for me to see if it was actually working. Which it does. So that's cool. I guess I'm done. That's about all. I'll probably do more with the raycasting. Let me know if you have any better ways of doing this. I'm sure there are. I'm sure if I just read through the camera rig code, I can figure something better out. Or maybe an event, maybe using their event system. But yeah, I think it's going to be good. Imagine instead of doing color lerping, they're doing animation or shrinking, expanding, translation. Seems about as basic as you can get. That's it for today. I hope you all have a good night, good evening, good morning, wherever you are, whatever this is.